Oh, my subscribers, I love you guys. Look, I've been reading your comments. Yes, I read every single one that you leave. And many of you are telling me that you're right in the midst of picking a Doberman to bring in your family and you're having trouble deciding between a male and a female Doberman. And you've asked me to do a video to help you decide. Well, I've heard you loud and clear, and this is that video. So today, it's all about the differences between male and female Dobermans. We're going to talk about their physical and their health differences, the differences in behaviors between the two dogs, which I find super interesting because these dogs do react different to different situations. And we're also going to talk about the advantages each one has over the other in a family environment. And knowing these differences should help make it a little bit clearer to you which dog you should pick for your specific situation. First up is their physical differences. It's pretty straightforward. The males are a little bit bigger. They're 26 to 20 inches tall on average, measured at kind of the top of the shoulders. It's called the withers. And the females are between 24 to 26 inches tall, so just slightly shorter. Now the males are between 75 to 100 pounds, whereas the females are between 60 to 90 pounds. Now, the males are also a little bit bulkier with a little bit more muscle mass, and the females are a little bit smoother looking, a little more elegant, and slightly less muscle mass. Now for the health difference of these two dogs. Now the males, they tend to be a little bit more prone to bone, joint, and hip issues than the females are. That's not entirely clear why that is. My assumption would be just because they're bigger dogs overall, it just puts more strain on these things than in the females. Other than that, there was also a study back in 2000. It was published in the Journal of the American Veterinary Medical Association, and it showed that male Dobermans are a little bit more likely to develop DCM, or dilated cardiomyopathy, at some point in their life. And if you haven't heard of DCM, it's a genetic issue that has plagued the Doberman breed for a while now, and it's a chronic thing that almost always takes the life of the dog. It's a heart problem. But other than those two things, there really hasn't been any data that I've seen to suggest that either a male or female lives longer than the other. So I think it's safe to say that in general, they have very similar lifespans, or about 10 to 13 years. Now for the behavioral differences of these two dogs. And I find this part to be the most interesting because they do have different temperaments and they do react a little bit different to different situations. And this is the area, guys, where it'll give you the information you need to find out if they're a right fit for you. So let's throw up both these dogs on the screen side by side and let's run through this. These are the common differences that you're likely to notice between males and females. Now, both these dogs are Dobermans, so on both columns, I'm gonna put that they're alert, loyal, loving, and protective dogs. Honestly, I could keep going from there, but let's just start there. Now for the males mature a little bit slower than the females, and they usually reach that adult mentality by the age of about 4, whereas females usually reach it by 2 years of age. I don't know why this is, they just tend to mature a little bit quicker and kind of reach that more stoic thoughtfulness type of attitude quicker than the males do. The males are also a little bit harder to train when they're young, whereas the females are a little bit easier to train when they're young puppies, which is actually a great thing for the females because you know that first year is tough with a new puppy. You're trying to housebreak them, you're trying to train them of the behaviors that's expected of them in your family and in your home, and that is a great thing on the female side. Now, the males, they have a slightly higher desire to please their owner. At least that's what a lot of Doberman owners will say, and that the females have a slightly less desire to please their owner. In my opinion, it's not that females have less desire to please their owner. It's just that males, they're more goofy and fun-loving, and you tell them to do something, they'll run off and do it, and they'll come back ready to play. You tell a female Doberman to do something, they'll run it through their own filter, they'll decide if there's an easier way to go do it, and if there's an easier way, they'll go out and do that and come back. Now, other than that, the males, they also tend to be more social with new animals and people than the females are. And they also are a little bit less suspicious of strangers than the females are. Females have a little bit more suspicion of people they don't know, which can actually be a great thing if you want your dog to kind of be protective of your family when they're in a situation where there might be strangers around. Now the males, they're also a little bit more demanding of attention than the females are. Females are a little bit less demanding, but I mean, they both love attention. They're both Dobermans. It's just the females tend to be a little bit less in your face about getting that attention. The males, they're also a little bit less likely to stay close off leash than the females. Females are a little bit more likely to stay close. Now, I think a lot of that has to do with the male's playful attitude and how they are less suspicious of just their surroundings in general, and they want to play with everything, so that can cause them to wander off when they're off leash a little bit more often. Overall, the males are just less serious and intense than the females. They're more playful and goofy, and whereas the females tend to be a little more serious and intense and stare you in the eye and be a little bit more stoic in nature than the males. Now, because of this playfulness though, males can be a little more clumsy around kids, and females are a little gentler and a little bit more cautious around kind of the young children, which is a good thing because these dogs can be big, and if you have a big dog that's a little bit clumsy just because they're so playful, that can be dangerous if you have real small children in the house. Males tend to be a little bit more stubborn. They need clear, concise direction when you're training them, whereas females are a little less stubborn, and again, they read you better, and you can often take a gentler approach with training with females over the males. Males can be a little bit messier overall than the females, and I think this goes back to their goofy and playful attitude. They'll run out in the backyard and they'll get messy and dirty and muddy and come tracking that in just because they're having a good time, whereas females are a little less likely to do that. Males are just overall more hyper in their puppy years than the females. Females tend to be a little calmer. Again, I think this is part of the reason why females are trainable at a younger age than the males are. These can make the puppy years a little bit less rough on you, having a dog that's a little less hyper especially in that first year. Now, many owners who own both of these dogs will also say that males are a little less in tune with their emotions than the females are. Now, they're both Dobermans, so they're both going to be very in tune with your emotions, but they say that the males are a little bit less than the females are. Males are also more likely to kind of bond with all family members equally in the house, whereas the females, they're a little bit more likely to bond with one specific person in the family. Now, as far as the protectiveness of these dogs go, the males tend to excel really well at protecting just kind of a whole territory and a whole family, whereas the females in general excel at protecting one specific individual, and I think that goes back to how they bond with one specific person in a family, usually a little bit stronger than the whole family. Quick disclaimer, guys, the differences I've outlined here are kind of the widely accepted general differences between males and females in the Doberman world. But of course, this is a broad generalization, and every dog is its own individual. So they'll have their own temperament and their own genetic influences. So things can vary a little bit, but these are the typical behavioral differences that you're most likely to see. If you're considering getting a Doberman, check out some of the other videos on my channel, because I have a whole lot of other videos all about the different types of Dobermans that exist out there, how to choose between them, and once you have a Doberman, how to keep them happy and healthy, and how to keep yourself sane. So guys, hit that like button down below. Don't forget to subscribe and that little bell icon that comes up as well, so you'll get notified on my next video when it comes out. And I will see you guys next week. Thanks so much for watching.